Dear learners, today I'm gonna to explain a new lesson in your Honeydew textbook, A Visit to Cambridge, written by Firdaus Kanga. Firdaus Kanga. So this is the image of Firdaus Kanga, and he is a person with some special abilities. He is a differently abled man who was born on 1960 in Mumbai, and he is a famous actor and a writer, and currently he is living in London. He has written a novel called Trying to Grow, a semi-autobiographical novel, and one more notable work, that is Heaven on Wheels. That is a travel book where he is describing about his experiences in the UK, United Kingdom. So this lesson, A Visit to Cambridge, is actually a part of this work, Heaven on Wheels. And this person, Kanga, is a person with some special abilities. The problem is that he is having a brittle bone disease. Means the bonds are very fragile, it will easily break. That is his problem. Okay, so this is all about the author. This is the image of the notable scientist, theoretical physicist, a cosmologist, and an astrophysicist named Stephen Hawking. All might be knowing about him, and we all know that he was also a differently abled person. And for decades, Stephen Hawking was confined to a wheelchair by a form of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also called as ALS, and it is actually a disease. It is a neurological disease that impacts the movement. And Stephen Hawking has communicated via speech synthesizer. So in this lesson, we can see what happened actually when two differently abled persons, two well-renowned differently abled persons, met each other, and how they were sharing their thoughts and what are their perspectives of life. Both of them are just a motivation for the normal people, and here in this lesson we can see how they are just sharing their thoughts and what is their perspectives, what is their idea regarding the normal life. Now we can go in detail to the lesson. So before you read, this is the story of a meeting between two extraordinary people, both of them disabled or differently abled, as we now say. Stephen Hawking is one of the greatest scientists of our time. He suffers from a form of paralysis that confines him to a wheelchair and allows him to speak only by punching button on a computer, which speaks for him in a machine-like voice. Firdaus Kanga is a writer and journalist who lives and works in Mumbai. Kanga was born with brittle bones that tended to break easily when he was a child. Like Hawking, Kanga moves around in a wheelchair. The two great men exchange thoughts on what it means to live life in a wheelchair and how the so-called normal people react to the disabled. So already I have told the notable information regarding these two people, and in this lesson we can see, in this portion we can see these men are having a conversation, and they are telling their life in a wheelchair. They are exchanging their views on the life in a wheelchair and how the so-called normal people are reacting to this differently abled persons. So now let's start. Cambridge was my metaphor for England, and it was strange that when I left it had become altogether something else because I had met Stephen Hawking there. So the writer is telling, before he met Stephen Hawking, before Kanga met Stephen Hawking, whenever he listens the word England, the image that is coming to his mind is the Cambridge University. Okay, but after seeing Stephen Hawking, the image has been changed to Stephen Hawking. The image is changed from Cambridge University, from the Cambridge University to Stephen Hawking. Meaning of metaphor is a thing regarded as representative of something else. A thing that is representing something else. Whenever we are seeing the image of a stethoscope, we are obviously thinking about doctors. Likewise, metaphor means it is representing something else. It was on a walking tour through Cambridge that the guide mentioned Stephen Hawking, poor man who is quite disabled now, though he is a worthy successor to Isaac Newton, whose chair he has at the university. So now the writer has gone to the UK, that time he got a chance to visit the Cambridge University. And there he was having a walking tour, and along with him there was a guide. And while they reached a particular point, he mentioned about Stephen Hawking. And the guide is calling Stephen Hawking as a poor man. Poor man means a differently abled man. And now he is totally disabled. He is unable to do anything. And he is a worthy successor to Isaac Newton, whose chair he has at the university. So Isaac Newton, all of us know about him. And Isaac Newton was the former professor and the chairman of this university. And Stephen Hawking is obviously having all the talent and knowledge and virtues like Isaac Newton, and he can be a perfect successor to the chair of Isaac Newton. And I started because I had quite forgotten that this most brilliant and completely paralyzed astrophysicist, the author of A Brief History of Time, one of the biggest bestsellers ever, lived here. So when he heard the word Stephen Hawking, he just recollecting a thing, that is a renowned work, and the name of the work is A Brief History of Time. Okay, he's just recollecting, he's just reminding about a famous work, a famous book called A Brief History of Time, and it is a biggest bestseller ever in this world, and it is been written by Stephen Hawking. So this is the book A Brief History of Time from the Big Bang to Big Holes, written by Stephen William Hawking. And it is a very popular science book on cosmology. Cosmology means study of universe, by the English physicist Stephen Hawking, and it was published in the year 1988. When the walking tour was done, I rushed to a phone booth and, almost tearing the cord so it could reach me outside, phoned Stephen Hawking's house. There was his assistant on the line, and I told him I had come in a wheelchair from India. Perhaps he thought I had propelled myself all the way to write about my travels in Britain. I had to see Professor Hawking. Even 10 minutes would do. Half an hour, he said, from 3:30 to 4. So now, after hearing about Stephen Hawking, the writer was so much fascinated to meet him. So what he has done, immediately after the tour, the walking tour was over, he just went to a phone booth, and as he is in a wheelchair, he can't move inside the phone booth. So he just took the phone, he just hold the phone in his hand, and the cord was almost like gonna to be torn. But he called to Stephen Hawking's house, and the call was picked by his assistant, and the writer told him that he came from India, and he came from India in a wheelchair, and he's just cracking a joke here that even the assistant can think that he traveled all from India to Britain in a single wheelchair. He's just cracking a joke, okay, and he just mentioned his need, and he told that he just wanted to see Stephen Hawking, even for just 10 minutes. That is enough. It will be worthy enough for him. But what the assistant has given him, he had given him half an hour, and the timing was from 3:30 to 4 o'clock. Evening 3:30 to 4 o'clock. And suddenly I felt weak all over. Growing up disabled, you get fed up with people asking you to be brave, as if you have a courage account on which you are too lazy to draw a check. The only thing that makes you stronger is seeing somebody like you achieving something huge. Then you know how much is possible, and you reach out further than you ever thought you could do. So here the writer is telling his experience. So being a differently able person, he might have got many advices from n number of people. And almost everyone will ask him to be courageous, to be brave enough, but he is mentioning that it is a senseless thought, it is a wasteless thought given by them. Only after we come to have an experience with a differently able person who has achieved something in his life, then only we will understand, then only we will imbibe those qualities in our life. The same is going to happen with his life. Now he's going to meet a person who was fortunate and who was hardworking enough to reach the things that he can't actually do with all these disabilities. So now we can see the writer has gone to meet Stephen Hawking. I haven't been brave, said the disembodied computer voice. The next afternoon, I had no choice. Disembodied meaning a thing that is separated from the body. Means I have already told you, Stephen Hawking used to communicate with the help of a speech synthesizer. Means with his normal voice, he can't do anything, he can't tell anything. So he used to type on a speech synthesizer and it will be giving the voice, that is a computer voice will be there. And the computer voice told that I haven't been brave, means Stephen Hawking was not brave, and he had to be brave because he has no other choice. Surely he wanted to say living creatively with the reality of his disintegrating body was a choice. But I kept quiet because I felt guilty every time I spoke to him, forcing him to respond. So the writer is telling that living creatively with a disintegrating body. Disintegrating means a separated body. Means he is having a very creative life with a separated body. And was it a choice? How can it be a choice? It is a decision. Okay. And but he hasn't asked this question, because he was feeling guilty. Whenever he is asking some questions, he has to reply. Okay, and he is like forcing him to reply, and it will create pain for him, so he doesn't want to ask many questions. There he was tapping the little switch in his hand, trying to find the words on his computer with the only bit of movement left to him, his long pale fingers. So already I have told you he is a paralyzed person, and only his fingers are just moving, not a great movement, it is just able to move from move a little. So whenever he wants to tell something, he has to tap on the computer. Okay, he has to tap on the little switches and only his fingers are moving. Every so often his eyes would shut in frustrated exhaustion, and sitting opposite him I could feel his anguish, the mind buoyant with thoughts that came out in frozen phrases and sentences stiff as corpses. So the writer explains about his experience while talking with Stephen Hawking. He's telling that whenever we are asking him some question, he is forced to respond. And while he is responding, we can see there is a frustration in his eyes. Means he is unable to convey all his thoughts. There is a limitation. And sitting opposite him, we can feel his anguish. Anguish means a pain, a suffering. And what is the specialty of his mind? It is completely buoyant. Buoyant means very active with thoughts. And what is happening to his thoughts? His thoughts are just being frozen. It is not having a life, and his sentences are very stiff like corpses. Means it is dead like a dead body. It is vegetative like a dead body. The meaning is that he is having a machinery voice. He is not having his own voice. He is talking with the help of a machine, and this machine is not conveying any emotions. It is just saying, it is just repeating the words that is being noted by Stephen Hawking. A lot of people seem to think that disabled people are chronically unhappy, I said. I know that is not true myself. Are you often laughing inside? So now the writer is telling his thoughts. He is telling that many of the people, they used to think that the disabled persons are chronically unhappy. Chronically means persistent. Continuously they are unhappy. And I don't guess that it is correct because I used to laugh inside. And what about you? Whether you are laughing inside. About 3 minutes later, he responded, I find it amusing when people patronize me. So, for getting the answer, the writer waited for about 3 minutes, and the response was that I find it amusing when people patronize me. Amusing means causing laughter or providing entertainment. That is called amusing. Amusement park. We used to go to amusement park just for entertaining us. And patronize means to be kind to someone but to talk to them as if they are inferior. Okay, and he is telling that I used to feel entertained when the people are patronizing me, when the people are feeling kind towards me and they are thinking that I am inferior to them. And do you find it annoying when someone like me comes and disturbs you in your work? The answer flashed yes. Then he smiled his one way smile, and I knew without being sentimental or silly that I was looking at one of the most beautiful men in the world. So now the writer has another question means, do you get annoyed? Do you get angry when people like me comes and disturb you? And the answer was in a fraction of a second, the answer was yes. And obviously he smiled, and it was a one-way smile. When you're seeing the documentaries or videos of Stephen Hawking, we can see he is having a slight problem in his face. So he was smiling in his one-way smile, and seeing that smile, I didn't feel anything sentimental or silly, but I felt that he is the most beautiful man in this world.